I want to welcome you to the asking the midterm rental coaching hot seat where you get to ask me 3 questions or less in 15 minutes or less. And I always like to ask. We are live, by the way. We're recording, and this will go on our socials, so that's part of the you get a chance to spend 15 minutes with me. But I always like to ask, where did we connect from, man?
Of course. Yeah. So I listened to you in a podcast with Mike Sjogren,
Mm,
um, the STR Secrets podcast,
yes,
about, I don't know, probably like a month ago, and
nice,
I started it following you on Instagram after that, and
awesome.
uh, and yeah, I saw the opportunity, so I jumped in.
I
Wanted
love
to
it.
train if
I'm so
possible.
glad you did. I'm so glad you did. I see you submitted a few questions. I'm happy to tackle those, or unless they've changed. But I see here you have three. You
Yeah.
have where do I list to get insurance contracts? So I don't know if my market property is good for insurance contracts, and what else do I need to do to my property to make it attractive for insurance contracts? Are those still the same questions you want to go with?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was trying to find those questions, but ultimately,
Mhm.
I have three short-term rentals in San Agustin, Florida, which are kind of performing okay from a short-term rental perspective. But I have
Mhm.
one property in Roseville, California, which is the one that I'm alluding to here. It's
Mhm.
kind of my primary residence, but we live between here and Mexico.
Okay.
So like
Nice.
most of the year, we rent it out as a short-term rental. But you know the regulations in California and in Roseville, we can only rent it 180 days per year, and we're starting to like have friction with neighbors, and you know the whole story. So
Yeah.
like I've been interested in kind of exploring the meter rental
Mhm.
like space for this one and maybe for the others too, but this one in
Yeah.
particular.
Yeah.
I've tried. I tried. I think it was based on your advice on the podcast. So I put like new listings for that property like about a month ago. I have
Where?
them a short in Airbnb and VRBO, like
Okay.
30 plus days. And honestly, haven't gotten any good leads. I
Mhm.
tried also like last year with furnished finders. But it
Mhm.
is, I don't know if it's a big property. It's like it's
How many
2,500.
bedrooms?
It's 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 2,500 square feet. It's in a like
I like
nice
that.
neighborhood.
I like that. That's my sweet spot. I like 4 bedroom plus, so that's good. Tell me, Andres, have you put it in on Zillow?
I have not. That was kind of
Hmm.
one of the next
That's
one of
a
the,
that's a big one. You're missing out on that. On Zillow's huge, because if you go on Zillow, and I think people think of Zillow when it comes to selling your home. But what you
yeah.
want to do is go to Zillow Rental Manager. That's when you're basically
Okay.
taking control of the listing and you're putting it out for rent. One of the areas that they go first is that, in addition to their database, and then sometimes the OTA. My rule of thumb is why not be everywhere they're hanging out? Because I can't tell you enough times where, uh, I'm on Zillow and they find me on Airbnb, or I'm on Airbnb, but they find me on Zillow. So if I ask them, how come you don't go to Zillow every time? The answer is because you're talking to a different agent and they do go through different process. So it's really important that you're on Furnish Finder, Zillow, like you're just omnipresent. But Zillow, you don't want to sleep on, because even I had a lady the other day where I closed a lot of deals with her, and she said, I said, where did you find this specific property? And she said, Hot Pads. I'm like, Hot Pads? You mean hotpads.com? She's like, yeah. And hotpads.com gets feeds from Zillow the exact same way that MLS feeds Zillow as well, and realtor.com and all those guys. So it's like, oh my gosh. So Zillow is a big downstream application that you want to make sure you're there for sure.
Silo, yeah, definitely. I had that on my AI list. I don't know why it took me
Put
so
it to
long.
the top. Put it to the top
Yeah.
of your list.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's gonna
not the
happen today.
bottom. Definitely the top. ASAP. And
Perfect.
make sure that when you do that, don't just set it and forget it, because it's going to ask you to confirm if you're available every 30 days. And if you don't respond via email and you miss it, your listing is going to go back to what it was. So it's not going to show up as a available rental. So right now, if you type in your property's address on Google, you'll probably see that it says either not for sale
Yeah,
or whatever, right? Like not on the market. But you want, when Zillow kicks in, it'll start showing the pictures and the that it's for rent.
excellent.
Hmm.
Thank you so much, Ruben. Really appreciate that. Okay, so I will
Yeah, of
do
course.
that. Um, is that kind of the main channel that you like? So I was like, I mean, I'm really curious on the insurance piece, right? Like,
Mhm.
getting kind of contracts around that, and I I I tried. So like another sort of a company reached out to me through BRBO, Sinister, I believe, or something like that,
Mhm.
and like I provided my information. Supposedly they put a property in their platform, but I haven't heard anything from them. So are the insurance companies like looking through like Zillow and BRBO and I'm guessing, like as you mentioned initially, some of them do, some of them like.
Yeah, yeah. I'll give you a little bit of background though, if you want some context, Andre. So, what they do is and one of the things I think you're asking me is like, where do I need to list? Well, number
Yeah,
one, I get familiar with the big players first because lowest hanging fruit. I want to make sure I'm in their database. And so the easiest way to get in the database, for example, you've heard of ALE Solutions.
I have not.
Okay, that's put ALE Solutions before Zillow. Okay, because
Daily.
ALE, so it's additional living expense. That's what it stands for. It's A as an apple, L as in love, E as in E as in echo, and then solutions.com.
Daily solutions.
Doesn't require any pictures. Put in your address like right now. Okay. Because and the reason I'm saying this, if you go on their website, you'll see it's the number one temporary relocation agency in the nation.
Okay. Yeah.
So, dude,
Yeah.
did I
That's
not mention that on the podcast?
yeah.
Do I need to re-record it?
I think you did, but honestly, like I
I'm
listened to it
busting
while I
your
was
chops,
driving,
man.
and
It's
then
cool. It's
yeah,
cool. But no, this is the stuff, man. Like this is the stuff that most people aren't doing. Like
I
because it's
know.
one Airbnb is cool, but it's only one avenue and it's not even their primary avenue. It's one of this is what the point I was gonna say. So let me finish the thought. Go on ALE Solutions, enter your property. Now you will live in their database. What some will do, not all of them, keyword, they will look into their database when they have an inquiry hit in your specific, I think you said Roswell, right? In that specific zip code they might look into their database and see, oh, Andres is here. Let me call him. And they'll call you or email you and be like, hey, we have a family looking to relocate for the next 3 months, for the next 6 months, for the next 1 month. And then, even if they say 1 month, it's fantastic because they typically tend to extend on a month to month basis, right? So you want to do that because some relocation specialists go into that database first before they start going outside if they find someone who's already currently in their database in their zip code and they get a response right away, they don't have to go to Zillow. They don't have to go to Airbnb because they found something in their database. If they look and they don't see you, maybe they missed you again enter your property as many times as you need to maybe once a quarter because you never know one time I called they'll be like yeah we had a little database system upgrade and yeah I don't see that one property on there because I'm always asking questions like do you see my other property that's within a 5 mile radius it's like no I don't see anything so you see one property but you don't see the other which tells me their technology is not perfect therefore this is why it's even more important that maybe they look into the database they don't see you but then they go on Zillow and they're like oh that's an option, right? Or
Yeah, yeah,
maybe they
you're
don't see you on Zillow, and then they go on Airbnb and they see you. Oh, that's an option. So the answer is live everywhere, but start with the lowest hanging fruit. Which for me, if you were to ask me, I'd go on aleysolutions.com. Uh, I'd go on Zillow as my second. And then there's some other ones where you and I could spend a whole day talking about how many other solutions. What I would ask you is technology is such a powerful tool these days. Use AI and say, type in on ChatGPT, name me other temporary housing providers like alesolutions.com, and you'll see you'll spit out names you've never heard of in your life. Go into those databases and drop your property in there. It's a one-time thing you got to do that puts you
yeah,
ahead of the pack. That's what most people aren't doing, right?
yeah, yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And these are kind of the golden nuggets, right? Like it's like these
Yeah.
small nuggets of information that can make the whole difference.
Hey, I
So
could
really,
change your whole month, man. Like these are
yeah,
the small
no, I
nuggets that
haven't.
could just change your whole. Yeah.
I have not gotten one contract like from like midterm. And it's all short term, and it's sort
Yeah.
of it's pretty good as a short term, but I can't do short term forever.
Yeah.
They're
How
gonna.
how how far out are you available, Andres, on your short term?
So I think that I followed your advice. It's like 2 months. Um,
Mhm.
um, is that like yeah 2 months, kind of 2 months on short term, and then I have a
Is
closeout.
that because you had already? Is that how? Is that what is that based on those 2 months?
Honestly, just like which is just a number, just my intuition or whatever.
Well, I like numbers, but I like data, right? So what I would do is look into your lead time, right? Go into your Airbnb insights. You go to Airbnb, go to the menu, go to insights, go to conversions. Then you'll see a thing that says lead time, booking lead time. I think you might have you ever seen that before?
Yeah, yeah,
Have a
yeah,
look at that because that's the real number that you want. If your lead time is 2 months, then my man, you hit the jackpot. But if it's 30 days,
yeah. Then I'm missing out.
well, it's not that you're
Um,
missing out. You're actually just fine if you want to continue to do short-term rentals. But my thing is,
Yeah,
I don't want to make my property available past my lead time.
yeah,
Because if I do that, I'm shooting myself in the foot. What are you going to do today, right now, if you're booked out 2 months and you get an inquiry, a juicy one, oof, one that'll change your whole life, and it says, "Hey, are you available
yeah,
next week for the next 3 months?" What are you going to do? You're out leveraged way
yeah,
too far, right? You're just too far
yeah,
extended. The reason I do 30 days is because I know that if I get a juicy 3 month inquiry, I'm going to move some things around to make room for that one. And there's ways you can do that, right? But what I'm saying is the reason why people don't get MTRs is because they're not optimized to receive them. And what happens is if I'm a relocation specialist and I look at your one listing and you're booked, power to you, but that means I can't fit that family in for the next 6 months, and therefore I'm going to find someone else who is available. And that's why I'm always talking about duplicating listings because that's part of the strategy where you want to at least see what's coming into the marketplace.
yeah,
Right. You want to be available to the demand. You want to be the supply to the demand. But if there you don't have any supply to the demand, then how can you land a contract, my
yeah,
friend?
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
you can't tell it. You can't tell it. Yeah,
Can't
no,
do it.
that's yeah. Thank you, thank you so much, Ruben. I really appreciate it. With the 1 minute, I don't know, just one quick thing. So, like,
Yeah.
my main business is in short-term rentals in San Agustin. How would you like? That's a touristy destination. That's like 100% like a vacation spot.
Hmm.
Like regulations are like very friendly for short term, so I'm
Hmm.
good on that front. But like, if I can get more profitability, I would like. How would you explore that? Like, how would you? I guess it's the same thing, right? Like looking at lead
I would.
times and
Yeah, I would. I would. Well, I would explore the demand, right? Because if you have a slow season, if there is one, that's where I would probably even turn on the MTR strategy
listing.
even heavier, right? Because there's two things I would look at. One, I would look at do people live year round in that marketplace, or is it strictly people come for vacation?
Mm,
Because
yeah,
what do you know the answer to that?
I think mostly vacation.
Okay, if it's mostly vacation, then I gotta respect the demand. I gotta respect the marketplace, right? We can't like put a
Yeah,
square peg in a round hole, right? If the people want this as a short term rental, we're not gonna force them to stay for 30 days, right? So you have to understand your market. I like to be in markets where and there's nothing wrong, by the way. We are in a vacation rental market, but we are also picked a vacation rental market where people do live year round. As a matter of fact, all of our neighbors live year round, which means that if something goes on in that neighborhood and zip code, we will be the MTR that can actually serve them should an unforeseen event happens. But if you're going for like, and again, you said St. Augustine, that's Florida, right? Yeah,
correct.
that's literally I was going to use that as an example without even thinking of St. Augustine, whether St. Augustine, Fort Lauderdale, etc. If like literally people come year round to vacation, and you know, I would look at the data of how many people actually live there year round. Now, if think about it, if people live there year round, then that means there's going to be less claims if you're specifically focused on insurance claims because you typically, just so you know, a claim is filed differently on a home that's a primary residence. It's called loss of use. Meanwhile, a rental property is called loss of rent if it's
I
an
see.
investment property. So
I
you're
see.
not going to get as much
Yeah,
volume in a market where people live. So the reasons why I actually pick metro markets for this specific strategy. Nothing wrong with vacation rentals. I love them to death, but at the same time, I know what I'm getting into. If I'm on a market that's 100% vacation rental, I'm not going to try to force people to stay longer because just the demand's not going to be there. So what I do look for though is metro markets where like metros, right? Cities where there's people are coming in for all sorts of reasons. There's universities, airports, schools, hospitals, kind of an infrastructure with corporations, etc. That way I'm getting all sorts of either communities And at the same time, I can also turn it as a hybrid where I do know that if I turn on the short-term rentals, AirDNA showed me the data of how much volume is coming in per year and how much I can capitalize on that. But what I do, and I'll put a bow on this. What I do, the way I run my strategy, I was just telling this to a buddy of mine. I literally was just on a call with him. Is like, we are in the short-term rental space. We just happen to have fostered relationships with temporary housing agencies so that we can only increase the chances of being 100% occupied and profitable. That's it. If you were to just summarize what we're doing, we're not saying that or the other. We're saying, listen, I want to get this property booked by any means necessary. And I happen to like to have more lucrative contracts because it's less headaches and less turnover for my team. That's it. So if you
Yeah.
can kind of think about it that way and be like, and then you put that into the market that you're in, it's like, well, this market really doesn't have that. It's actually more for vacation than serve the marketplace. Make it focus on the amenities. Do exactly what the fundamentals of short-term rentals are. Don't change the game, because what people do sometimes in business, they do what they want to do and they forget to treat what
Yeah.
the actual demand is, which is your customer. What does the
Yeah.
customer want, right?
Yeah.
So I hope that that answers, or at least that
Oh, yeah.
reframes the way to think about it. But at least also always goes back to the data. Go to the data. What is AirDNA telling you? How long are people staying for? How far out are they booking for? You know, is it year round? Is it seasonal? Those are the kind of data points where I would only rely on the data.
Thank you so much, Ruben. Really appreciate it. And
Hey man, I
that was
love it.
amazing. I love it.
Ah,
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you,
So much,
brother.
so much, so much valuable information in such a quick span of time. Really appreciate it, and definitely we'll put this into work. And we'll let you know how that goes.
You will. I want to share. Definitely share your receipts. Share your wins. Drop me an email. Shoot me. Tag me on social or whatever. But I know this stuff works if you do the work, and so don't be the guy that says, "I know Ruben told me that, but I didn't do it yet," because it works, dude. It works. You couldn't make it up. And do the little things that most people are not gonna do. Most people listen to this and be like, "That sounds cool," but just do it. It's
Yeah,
simple, and then you get results, man. It works if you do the work.
yeah. No, I know. I'm sure it's you gotta do the work.
That's it. But not too hard. You know, it doesn't have to be too hard. It's just simple. We're trying, look, you know what is hard work? Short-term rentals. I know that. That's a hard work, man.
It
Trust
is.
me. We're in the space. So we're doing this because we didn't want to work too hard. So we're on the same
Yeah,
boat, man.
yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
brother, I'm sending you abundance, many contracts sent your way. And again, I appreciate you coming on the air here. It's gonna give hopefully give you value, but it's gonna give somebody else value. But please share the wins, brother. Share the wins.
I will do, of course. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, and again for being on the podcast and kind of sharing all of this valuable information. As you say, that's kind of, I mean, ultimately, like, we all succeed when we follow what everyone has done before. And
Mm.
I'm really grateful for people like you that are kind of willing to just share things broadly and
Thank you, brother.
help us all succeed. So
That
yeah,
means
all
a
the best to
lot.
you, and I will keep following you, and I will let you know how this goes.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, Andres. I'll let you conquer
All
the rest of
right.
your day, brother. Thanks again for coming on. Have a good one.
Thanks, Ruben. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Cheers.